Hello and welcome to the last edition of the all-new Marvel Roundup. Your guide to everything, all the Marvel comics of the week. I am Phil Parrish, and joining me again for the last time in this form,
Charlie Esser.
All right, and we have a
Yes.
special treat for our last episode too. You've heard his name coming through my voice. Stockton Piner sends us emails every so often, but this week he sent a voicemail to our new Capes and Lunatics voicemail. But I figured I'd play it here because he's talking about a Marvel book. I believe he's talking about Inhumans.
Let's hear it.
All right. Here we go.
Hello, Capes and Lunatics crew. This is Stockton Piner calling in from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I wanted to give you guys a call to shine a spotlight on a Marvel comic that I'm afraid is going to fall under the radar. And I'm talking about Black Bolt by Saladin Ahmed with art by Christian Ward. Guys, this book is nothing short of incredible. It is cosmic in scope. It starts out with Black Bolt waking up, chained up in this prison, completely disoriented, with this loud voice blaring, "Name your crimes, repent your crimes." And over the next several panels, we see Black Bolt repeatedly trying to get up, being electrocuted, and dropping back to the floor before he finally gets sick of it and bursts through his bonds. Then we are just gifted this amazing M.C. Escher-esque prison by Christian Ward as Black Bolt is walking through it, thinking about how he got there, everything he's got waiting for him on the outside, thinking of Medusa, thinking of his son, and he comes across another prisoner being tortured. Tries to save him. It's too late. The prisoner's already dead. And then, who should walk in but none other than Crusher Creel. After the next 4 pages or so are just a knockdown, drag-out Black Bolt versus Crusher Creel. He finally bests Creel and moves on down the hall to find the jailer, who is this Christian Ward-drawn cosmic monster. Never seen anything like it before. Thing is terrifying looking, and it immediately, Black Bolt rips this mask off that is blocking his voice, tries to speak, and nothing happens. The jailer zaps him and apparently kills him, only to see him wake up in the next page and he's fine. And also, the creature that he saw killed earlier is sitting in the cell across from him. Guys, I know that my comments are disorienting. Trust me, this book is disorienting, but it is so worth checking out. Again, I highly recommend Black Bolt #1, written by Saladin Ahmed, who I'm pretty certain is a newcomer to comics, and if that's the case, welcome to comics, my friend. Your scripting is on point. And the art by Christian Ward, if I'm not mistaken, he does all of it. Inks, colors, pencils, all of it. And so gorgeous. I know some of the work he did on Ultimates was really good, and this is just that ratcheted up to 11. I really hope you guys check out this book, and I look forward to calling in with some other reviews going forward. Looking forward to the new Capes and Lunatics show. You guys have a good one, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Okay, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, see.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, I'm going to give you a quick fan theory right on this. You know where he is?
Where?
Where Black Bolt? He's in the negative zone.
Ooh, maybe, yeah.
Because that's very similar to what kept on happening to Johnny Storm when he was trapped in the negative zone. He kept on dying and coming back to life and dying and coming back to life,
Mm-hmm.
Because nothing dies in the negative zone. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. So what's your first book there, Phil?
All right, I guess I'll start us off with The Mighty Captain Marvel #5. I start off with this because it kind of goes back to like the beginning of Secret Empire. Carol and Alpha Flight are kind of repairing the space station after her rampage last issue, and that I guess he's a xenobiologist who is working for Tony Stark, is working to cure Carol's current condition, and then they get 3 teenage recruits. They're the first recruits of the call them Alpha Cadets. There's Dante, who was recommended by Black Widow. There's Glory, who won the Stark Science Expo. She says both her parents are astrophysicists. And Addie and her drone Itzy, who of course both were recommended by Black Panther. And then Carol says her training's going to begin, and she puts him in, I guess, their version of the danger room. So they got to fight it out. I don't know if that's a good idea on a space station, but so she locks him in the danger room. She's talking to Abigail Brand. Oh, and then the xenobiologist later, he comes up with something that he says. It looks like, I guess it goes on her chest insignia. There's like so many lethal toxins in it. He says it's probably illegal in 3 solar systems. It would kill anyone else, but it should temporarily shut down your Hala effect if it happens. When she activates it, so she has a kill switch on that. That's when Carol gets a message. The ships come in, and it's the Guardians of the Galaxy. All right. So yeah, we get this scene where Hyperion and Quasar get taken out. Will get eaten. Then Carol's thinking time's running out, but then the AI Tony and Riri get the shield back up, and of course, Carol's like, Steve, we did it. We did it. Then we get a funny scene with Puck and the new recruits. We see the Guardians taking a break. And that's when Carol's like, Steve, we got wounded up here, but the shield's not responding. Can you handle it on your side? And of course, Steve Rogers, as we all know, says, I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to do that, Carol. She says, what do you mean?
I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Yeah. She says, what? You mean it's not working on your side either? He says, no, it's working as planned. Actually, they won't stop until they find their queen. And she's like, what are you talking about? She's like, what have you done? And he says, exactly what you would do. Wall off the world from its greatest threats. And then they show her floating in orbit, and she's thinking, he was talking about me, and Quill, and Gamora, and Quasar, and America, my crew, all of us. That's when I knew what we were really facing, a threat far greater than 1 billion Chitauri, and not just that, a threat on the wrong side of the shield. He conned us into building for him. Conned me. And then you get the Steve Rogers saying, this is the last time we ever speak. Click. And the last thing Carol says is, you better hope that's true, Captain. You better hope.
Bum,
Dun,
bum,
dun,
bum.
dun. But yeah,
but you know what's
up.
weird here?
Huh.
Okay, yeah, but you know what's weird here? So they know that it was a Hydra suicide bomber who damaged the shield. So people know that Hydra was suicide bombing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So people know Cap is the villain already if he's all of a sudden saying, no, I'm actually Hydra, but we're the good Hydra. That just strikes me as kind of a big flaw in this,
Unless it was
I'm just saying.
Unless it was a complete lie, or he was just like, oh no, that was the Red Skull's Hydra. No, that's not our Hydra.
Yeah, maybe he was talking about the good Hydra because he did kill the Skull.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so let's take a look at the book here. Let's go with my first book, Mosaic. Number 8. This is the final tale of Mosaic. It is an interesting character, an interesting take on a story. I'm sad I never got really the chance to read it because this was actually a fun story. We open up with Diablo. You remember him? You remember Diablo?
Of course.
He says the pylons must be completed. The gates must open because you have to build these pylons in a certain place at a certain time, and the power of Chthon will be brought into the earth, and you, as the one who builds it, will become the avatar of Chthon. Yay, because that's what you want to be. We see that Mosaic has jumped into a moloid, and once he gets in there, he can't get out because it's all mucky, and he wants to get out, he can't get out. Diablo realizes one of the moloids isn't doing what it's supposed to do, and so he realizes it has an infection, so he just destroys all the moloids, which also winds up with freeing Mosaic. And Mosaic realizes this guy is a supervillain. He says he's about 4 out of 5 Magnetos on the scale. We then see that Diablo has one moloid chained up that he basically makes homunculi of. I was a little disappointed in this because, in the Evolutionary War, there was this one mutant moloid who was psychokinetic. could control other Moloids' minds. I was hoping that was going to be a callback here. It was not. All the other Moloids are running off to do Diablo's Bing. And then we see Mosaic takes over the Moloid Prime inside his mind. It's like a house of mirrors. He sees all of this Moloid's past and history. It's too much. He's also then seeing through all the eyes of the other Moloids. It's too much for him, but he has to power through in classic superhero fashion. He realizes what Diablo has done to this poor Moloid. And then Mosaic realizes that because he's taken over the Moloid, now he has taken over all the Moloids. So he has them attack Diablo, tear down the pylons, and, says to him, you've gotten that fifth Magneto on the scale here. You have gone full on supervillain, and we're destroying your pylons. And then you're gonna let the Moloids go, and so we do. And then we come to Mosaic talking to his brother, who's like his biggest fan after he found out that his everyone else was just sort of using him, but his little brother always still loved him. He says, all that you said before on the bus, like how you use folks to get what you want. He says, not that. Well, yeah, all that, but no. If you had superpowers, if you had my powers, what would you do? He says, well, now that I'm going to have to think about. So that is the end of Mosaic's story. Like I said, it was a nice book. Thumbs up for it. I wish I could have read more of it. Might pick it up in the trade. Yeah, I mean, it struck me as an interesting concept, and I kind of want to see what happened with this guy throughout his arc in becoming Mosaic. But I'm glad I picked up the last issue. It was a light week. It was something I could do, and worth the read.
Awesome. All right, and then I guess I will jump to All New Guardians of the Galaxy #2. So basically it opens up. Remember, the Guardians have been hired by the Grandmaster to steal this thing from the Collector. So basically Rocket's telling everybody for the longest time nobody knew where the Collector's main collection was. That changed not too long ago. Somebody walked out of this pocket dimension called the Mojoverse. The big ugly slug that hovers around in a drone was running a show live out of some rich guy's eyeballs, and he got a tour of the collection, so we know that the Collector's new castle is basically a remote and private mini Asgard there in the middle of that orb. It's surrounded by jewel-looking mines. Some are magnetic, some detonate near organics. Rocket says some are rumored to be manned by fifth-dimensional imps. There's weapons that some are
fifth-dimensional imps. I get that reference.
Yeah. Some of the weapons are manned by AI, some are manned manually. Then he's talking about all the security. The worst is he says extra dimensional security. Rumor is they plunge you into your deepest fears until your heart gives out. It looks like two Grim Reaper looking guys. And so they're just Quill's we're not breaking in there. And Gamora has an idea about a Trojan horse, so that they can be brought in. And then Quill saying we have to do this. The Grandmaster has us over a barrel. We'll try Gamora's Trojan horse idea. And Drax says, she said nothing about riding horses, imbecile. And then he says, Quill says, we sneak in. How do we get out? Rocket says, leave that to me. And then we see the Collector's guys bringing in a large alien creature, for some kind of four-legged large alien. Looks like a cross between a giant alien lizard and a Shar-Pei. But that's the Trojan horse, so I'll just leave it up to everyone's imagination how the Guardians snuck in a living being and how they got out of it. It's not fragrant, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I thought they would have just used Pym particles.
I guess they didn't have. I guess they were out. But yeah, it's a pretty crappy escape. Anyway, so they break out of this thing's cage, the giant aliens causing a distraction. That's when they're fighting through the guards and everything. Gamora slashes a bunch of robots in the scrap, and Peter says, "How'd you know those were robot guards?" He says, "You knew those were robots, right?" Then a guard tries to shoot Drax, but his bullet ricochets off Drax and knocks him into some chasm. And Drax says, "I didn't kill you. You killed you. I refuse to accept the weight of his death on my conscience." And Peter says, "Nice to see you're off the wagon, buddy. Welcome back." So they're wandering through the collection. They find the egg thing they're looking for. That's when Peter says, "Guys, whatever those nightmare things are, they're here." And that's when Peter's thinking to himself, they're dredging up the worst fears in everyone's minds, and their minds are all linked. So the whole team sees each other's fears. Like Peter's fears that he fails to stop a threat and Earth is wiped out. Rockets is being pulled apart and reassembled for nothing more than a laugh. Poor Groot decomposes into nothingness. And Gamora, she's unable to move or breathe as if trapped in stone. Luckily, not all of us scare so easy, because you just see Drax say, "You want to see what's in my head? You won't like it!" And next thing you see is just Drax. I don't know where those extra dimensional things went, but Peter's like, "You want to tell us what they saw that scared them so bad?" And Drax is like, "No."
They saw Drax.
That's right. Drax is like, "What does a grown elder of the universe want with an egg anyway?" And Gamora says, "Perhaps he's eating it?" And Peter's like, "I'm glad your bone-dry sense of humor is intact." They're looking for a way out, but they say the room seems like it keeps changing. Rocket tries to blast the wall, and Peter says, "Look, it worked. There's a portal opening in the wall." And Rocket says, "Oh, yark me, that's not a portal in the wall, Quill." And then all of a sudden, they're like just standing on like a fingertip, and you hear a voice say, "The only reason you're still alive is because I wanted to see what it was you came to steal from me." The Jarian Monarch Egg, a favorite of the Grandmaster. I expect I'll be calling on him after I dispose of you. And you just hear, "I am Groot." He says, "That's not an excuse, Flora Colossi." Then it looks like they're getting hit. I don't know if they're getting... Drax says, "What a profoundly stupid way death this will be." And Peter says, "Maybe if you'd been willing to destroy a little more, we wouldn't be in this mess." And you hear, "Silence!" Then the issue ends again with that strange planet where it looks like there's a whole bunch of little baby Groots running around. And then there's a bigger Groot. It looks kind of crazy, so I don't know if there's a crazy Groot running around or if it's someone trying to steal Groot's power. That's why he's not growing. But he looks like he takes out some of the Groots that didn't grow. But yeah, that's the end of the issue. Really weird. It was alright. I might have to give this one 3/4 up. I don't know, just the whole Trojan horse thing. I'm like, I know these guys are losers, but do we really have to go there? I don't know.
You're the one that likes the scatological humor, Phil.
Oh, come on. One.
I'm just giving you trouble, Phil. Don't worry. Okay, let's go on to Infamous Iron Man number 8. This is one of the ones we both read, Phil. Mm-hmm. What did you think of the book?
It was interesting, but I was like, the maker, he seemed like he knew stuff that R. Ben Grimm would know. I'm like, how could he? I'm like, I know he's A. Reed Richards, but how would he have 616's memories?
Well, this is a thing. So to give us a quick opening here, we have Riri is off to Latveria, where she's looking for Dr. Doom, and she actually finds him. And Dr. Doom does his whole, "Would you like me to be more villainous?" shtick. You know. And then we cut to, Reed and Ben. And I guess what the implication here maybe is that, well, and here's one thing to consider is, well, there's a lot of things to consider here. One of the things to consider here is that Reed Richards comes in slices. And that is an important point about the Reed Richards of 616. That that Reed Richards is one of many Reed Richards, the kinds of Reed Richards that you may find on a Council of Reeds. Remember, there are Councils of Reeds out there. And in this universe, all of the Councils of Reeds have sort of been placed in each universe to serve whatever plan the Molecule Man has. However, as an interesting point in this, we can assume all the Reeds are evil, but that's an assumption. Because, of course, Reed didn't start off evil in the Ultimate Universe. Reed started off as just Reed. Mm-hmm. And, one thing I might say in this is he's telling this story, but, we see Ben Grimm looking at him. This may not be something that Ben Grimm remembers. Ben Grimm may be playing this Reed Richards, It is interesting to me that dynamic there. Especially because, although at the same time he does look like Reed, what's interesting, this may be an event that happened to a lot of Reeds, a lot of Reeds, a lot of Bens, in fact, I'm trying to think if there was an Ultimate Alicia. I really don't know. I didn't really read the Ultimate FF very much.
I'm trying to remember. There might have been.
Much like the Fox Fantastic Four, I wasn't a fan. It was not exactly how I wanted the Fantastic Four to be, and they did a lot of weird stuff that they then had to walk back, like the whole early on thing with Johnny burning his fat when he turned into the Human Torch, and like it's killing him. Oh, now it's not going to kill you anymore. It was like, really, it's sort of like Thor and it's sort of like Jane Foster and her cancer. At a certain point, you got to say, okay, could you just die now? But anyway, yeah, I mean, we don't know if maybe, and that's this question about what happened to everyone from the Ultimate and 616 universes. Were they merged? Because we can see that the Ultimate Universe did merge with this one.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe the two Bens were merged and their memories were merged in that. Maybe that's something we'll get to when we get to Secret Empire or Captain America. Steve Rogers' Captain America number 17, Secret Empire. Oh, no, actually, no. It's actually next week in Secret Empire number 3, which we'll talk about on Super Connectivity. Okay, never mind. Okay, getting back to all this. Basically, Doom says, I had this vision. I want to have this vision again. It was when I was under a lot of stress. So I'd like you to shoot me with a repulsor blast. And the whole time, Tony's telling her, get out of here, get out of here. And he says, well, he wants you to shoot you with him with a repulsor blast. Go ahead, do that. We see that Ben does seem to at least partially be accepting this read. And then he's saying, here's what you need to do. You need to kill Victor Von Doom. Which is interesting. Riri does the blast on the Doomy. Doom gets to his crazy future science world. And who is there to greet him? None other than the Sorcerer Supreme of this universe. Yes.
Tony Stark.
Tony Stark, the Sorcerer Supreme. I mean, it's a good issue. It's a thumbs up. It's, I'll be honest with you. It hasn't gotten me to a point where I'm like, oh man, I got to read the next one. I mean, like, oh, okay, so that's Infamous. It's interesting. It's cool, but it's like it's not hooking me yet. I'm not hooked on what it is Doom's overall plan is, But thumbs up.
It's thumbs up. I mean, Bendis. I join his writing, but it's just I don't know. He takes his time for like every issue. It's like we get a couple pages of something happening, but most of the pages of these issues are just people standing around talking, which is good. I mean, you need, to flesh out the story, but
I don't mind people talking. I just want them to be going somewhere when they're talking.
Yeah,
I want it to be a walk-in. Well, I don't want this to be another. And as it turns out, Tony's parents were two people you never heard of who were not particularly remarkable and are dead. So that's Tony's secret origin. I don't want that. I wanted something. No. I want, if you're going to have something be earth-shattering and cosmic, make it earth-shattering and cosmic. And right now, Doom is neither earth-shattering nor cosmic, and that's the problem.
I don't know. I think Bendis just got. I don't know. I don't know if he just wanted a blood relation Tony could leave the company to. And I'm just like, you know,
I don't
probably
know.
like
Doesn't he have a cousin somewhere?
he did. I don't know if is he still alive. I guess I was gonna say, you know, Tony Stark's probably gonna have at least one illegitimate kid out there.
Well, yeah. Honestly, first off, that's a much better story to tell.
Oh yeah.
Just have Riri be his illegitimate kid, you know, just
That's exactly.
Stick on, you know? I mean, really,
that would be a much better story. Instead, I mean, I know she's a genius, but instead of just some random teenage girl, if the teenage girl was like the daughter of Tony Stark, I mean, yeah, I think people would accept it more. It'd be more interesting.
I don't mind her not being part of the lineage. You know, for example, I don't mind that Tony's parents were people that we never heard of, but that they were particularly unremarkable. You know, it's like if we found out that his secret, you know, mother was like some, you know, lost Soviet scientist who was, you know, unappreciated in her time, or you know, something crazy like that. You know, you know, that would have been, okay, and like, you know, secret, and you know, and there's, you know, it's not like there's not like a whole mess of super science, super villains from old Golden Age books that they could have pulled from, you know. I mean, there's lots of fun stories they could have come up with, but instead it was like, no, they're just, he is like every other adopted child, just, you know, the child of relatively unremarkable parents who didn't have time to raise him. Now, though, exactly how Howard gets a child and how he just sort of, how Maria Stark just raises that child because, hey, hon, I knew you wanted a kid, so got you one.
Rich people
Hope
can
you
buy
like
anything.
It's just the acceptance of it from Maria too. It's just all weird, as if like, it just.
I hear you.
It wasn't a story. Okay. And so we are hoping that Infamous Iron Man doesn't follow along a similar path here. But yeah, exactly what maker we're dealing with, because obviously there's something weirder going on with this Reed Richards. But he's obviously from a similar universe. And this is what you can say. He's from a similar universe to the one that was similar to the 616. It's a 616. You know, what it kind of reminds me of is, remember there was a book out a while ago, because I was actually researching this recently, called Big Town, Fantastic Four Big Town, which was sort of if all of the technological advances of Tony Stark and Reed Richards just sort of got filtered out to the rest of society, and what would society look like. And it's about them sort of building this megalopolis of Big Town, which is like New York and most of New Jersey, because they have the borough of Newark where all the mutants live. You know, and you know, that was a pretty cool series. I always thought that should have been that was kind of like an inspiration maybe for the Illuminati, because you had this idea of these super geniuses all working together to do something. But anyway, yeah. So if it goes somewhere, this will be great. If it goes to basically nowhere, like I said, I'm still not. You know what it is? As I'm not seeing enough of what Doom's story is in this either. Yeah. You know, like I decided to be a superhero, and either I want to see him struggling with it, I want him to be at least as good of a story as Superior Spider-Man. You know, with how do I balance what I am as a supervillain and what a hero does and what a hero is. You know. I don't get much of anything. I get him being just a royal sphincter, but that's about it, you know. I'm not saying it's a bad book. It's actually still very enjoyable. It's got some great Ben Grimm stuff in here. You know, but the whole thing with his mother and Bendis and mothers, goodness.
Anyway. Speaking of refugees from the Ultimate Universe, I guess I'll go to X-Men Blue #4. So yeah, our team of young X-Men they're trying to follow a signal that Jean has getting following through Cerebro. She said it's unlike any mutant signal she's encountered before. The signal's kind of glitchy. They land in Arrow Ridge, Colorado. Of course, everything's snow-covered and cold. When everyone else complains about the cold, Iceman calls them big babies. Since Jean's having trouble picking up the device. Yes. So since Jean's having trouble picking up the signal, she's asking Angel if he spotted anything. He's like, trees are obscuring my line of sight. Don't want to fly too close because, flame wings. They find the dead body, and Angel says, hope that's not the mutant we're looking for. Jean says, I don't think so. The signal might have been weird, but the mutant was alive. That's when they find out the guy's heart's been cut out. And then a voice says, step away from the body. It's a woman with a gun and a flashlight. And Angel says, I'm guessing you're the deputy sheriff around here. She's like, sheriff, actually. And she says her name's Kira Lee. She says, I know why you're here. You're looking for him, aren't you? The one who did this. He's one of you, an X-Man. And Jean says, no, we're looking for a mutant like us, but whoever he is, he's not an X-Man. And she says, Kira says, are you sure? Because I've seen him too on the news. He's the guy with the claws. And they're like, claws? And Jean's like, he had claws? This guy, he's older, like mean old grandpa? And Kira says, yes to the claws, yes to the mean, no to the grandpa. He was young. I've been tracking him for a few days now. She says, whoever he is, he saved my life. I guess she saved him from he saved her from a Wendigo. That's because she was telling him the dead guy was some sort of monster. The mutant you were looking for was hunting him, trying to stop him. I guess he finally succeeded. I got a feeling he was alone and that he needed help. Jean says that's why they're there. They want to help him. And that's when Jean's asked Kira about the guy she saw. She says, I'm a telepath. Do you mind if I read your mind? And Kira says, I prefer you didn't. And Jean says, how could she stop me? How would she even know if I... And she's like, stop it. I'm thinking like Magneto. That's not who I am. Not who I want to be. So they're searching through the woods, and then they hear, Schnicked! Shouldn't have come after me, but I'm going to give you one chance. Turn around. Go back to wherever you came from and tell whoever's pulling your strings to leave me the hell alone. And they're like, is that really him, Wolverine? He's like, I'm not counting the 3. And Scott tells Jean to try to shut him down. She says she can. He's got some kind of mental blocks. So Scott tries to blast him. He said, let's see him block this. And then the figure says, blow your chance, Slim. That's when Jean hits him with a big Psy blast. The hood comes off. And everyone but Cyclops is like, hey, hold on, we know him. And Cyclops is like, you know him? And they're like, yeah, he looks a little different, but we recognize him. We met him before when we got pulled into that other world. And Scott's like, other world? You went to another world and met young man Logan? And Spee says, this guy's not Logan.
Wait, when was this?
I think it was, I kind of remember this. I think it was during Bendis's run with All New X-Men. Yeah, they went to the Ultimate Universe and they fought like the Doom of that universe with their X-Men, and I think Miles Morales was there too.
This was Miles Morales was there, and you, Scarecrow, were in this most of them.
But yeah, so Beast tells him, yeah, no, he's not Logan, he's Wolverine's son. He goes by the name Jimmy Hudson. And Jimmy Hudson jumps up, looks like he's gonna attack them. Beast is like, I guess we weren't that memorable to him. And Scott says, did he try to kill you last time? And Jean says, no, we got along. We fought Dr. Doom. That's when the sheriff shoots him in the back. She says, I'm sorry you really didn't give me a choice. And then the voice says, yeah, you didn't give me much of a choice either. And I guess Iceman kind of altered his form. He looks like a big ice Hulk now. He smashes Jimmy down. He's like, Iceman
That's
smash.
That's a cool new superpower.
Uh-huh. And they're like, hopefully he can heal like his dad. And the sheriff says he can heal. I saw him do it once. And Iceman's like, he's like, you guys, just take a second and look at me. He's like, we finally got a real bruiser on the team. Bring on the Juggernaut. And Jean's like, that's great, Bobby. She says, do you think you could change back to your regular self there? You're kind of weirding me out right now.
See, this reminds me of the time when, on the Super Friends, when Zan became an ice giant. And after that, you always asked, why doesn't he always become an ice giant instead of a puddle of water?
I know.
As you were saying.
Anyway, so Jimmy's waking up. Jean says, Jean says, Jimmy. He says, what did you say? What did you call me? She says, we're the X-Men. We don't want to hurt you. We want to help if you'll let us. We should go somewhere and talk. And the sheriff says she knows a place. So they guess they go to a nearby bar. And that's when they're... I guess Jean's like playing with, everyone else in the bar's perception, so they're not like getting stared at. But she's asking Jimmy, when you attacked us, you thought we were trying to take you someplace. Where? And he says, that's just it. I don't know. I can't remember. And Iceman says, you mean your world? That place was pretty awful. And Jimmy said, I'm sorry I tried to hurt you. I think maybe I've hurt a lot of people. Wherever I was, the only thing I can remember is pain. And that's when Scott wants to know what's going on. And Jean says, we went there when you were off in space with your dad. We met a young mutant who could move between worlds, between parallel dimensions. And we ended up in a world with its own X-Men. This world had a heroes too, sort of like ours, but not exactly the same. Jimmy was there along with alternate reality versions of myself and Bobby. And Angel says the other me was dead. Jimmy says, I'm sorry what you're describing. I don't remember any of it. And Jean says, we'll figure it out. I hope you realize that now that we're friends, Jimmy, if you come with us, we might be able to help you. We might be able to. There's a big rattle and stuff's flying in the air. And the sheriff says, what's happening? And a voice says, that would be me. We're here for our companion. We never leave a man behind. It's Naomi Bloom, Mach 11, Hishako Ichi Armor, Derek Morgan, the Guardian, who looks like he's an African American gentleman, but he looks like he has the wings like Angel originally had, like the feather wings, and then Pietro Leshner, Quicksilver, but not our Quicksilver, because it says at the bottom of the page, the new Marauders, not from this universe. Bum, bum, bum. Yes, they're from the Ultimate Universe. So now we have two Quicksilvers running around too.
Why not? Okay. Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. I'm going to go to my pick of the week, and it's probably not a pick of the week that you would have thought it would have been, Phil. You know what my pick of the week is this week?
What?
Secret Warriors #2.
Well, I didn't read it, so I
and that really surprised me, because I was certain that it was going to be Black Panther or Captain America. But then I picked up, because Secret Warriors were sold out, so I got it digitally. And I read it on the train digitally, and I'm like, man, this thing is just sucking me right in. I'm just loving the plot. I'm loving the characters. And it is just really such an exciting tale. We open up with New Atlan, the Inhumans HQ, where we see General Hyde coming in a SHIELD helicarrier. By the way, can someone please explain to me what the tentacles on the helicarriers do now that they're Hydra helicarriers?
Branding.
Because they all have like these... Well, branding, yeah. It seems like a lot of adamantium to put into your branding. That's all I'm saying. Because we don't see them do anything. It's not like the walker legs. I don't... It might even be aluminum. Who knows? But it just seems like, like if they were walker legs, okay. If they were being used to grab things and being used all prehensively like tentacles, okay. But they're not. We see them. They're just hanging there like freaking ornaments on your helicarrier, and it's like that's gotta hurt the aerodynamics. Anyway, so we see our new humans. We see an Inferno, and I can't tell if which group Inferno's in. This is very confusing to me. A guy called Grid, and the guy with the glasses, I forget his name, but he's the detective with the super eyes. And we see that ISO is going, and she's like the new leader of the Inhumans because, of course, Black Bolt and Medusa and all the royal family just sort of took off recently. We'll have to ask Stockton about them, what's going on with them. Well, at least now we know where Black Bolt is. He's in jail, in the negative zone. And basically we see Hyde sort of take over the place. We see that Hyde, we also see later that Hyde is the warden of the Inhuman concentration camp. And then we cut to the present when Quake, Ms. Marvel, Moon Girl, and Inferno have all broken into the Inhuman concentration camp in New Jersey. And they go with Karnak to find the one who can help them, whom we don't know who that is yet, but he's in the mutant territory. And they say, don't worry, the mutants will find us. We go west. They get into a beat-up old Volkswagen after they apparently tear down the camp and escape, and all of the Inhumans run off, and they all split up. Probably trying to get to Canada where it's safe. They're trying to keep a low profile in their Volkswagen, but of course, the fact that one of them is like shooting fires out the window and are being chased by a giant red dinosaur kind of hurts their incognito mode. And we catch up with Grid, Naga, and what's his name in Philadelphia. They get stopped. They want to take in Naga because she's, of course, a lizard lady. This leads to battle. Then cut back to our team with Ms. Marvel and Quake and Karnak as they're driving across country. They suddenly realize that a bunch of Hydra agents have come out of nowhere. They see them at this farmhouse. They figure that they are about to be, they're trying not to get captured, but all of a sudden, someone is being dug out of the house by the Hydra agents, so they decide they have to be heroes, go to fight, but it was a trap. It was actually, and this is what's real shocking, okay? It's the Howling Commandos have gone over to Hydra. Dumb dude working for Hydra. And they say, Nick Fury would roll over in his grave. And he says, it's not like that. You don't understand. Cap doesn't want to hurt your Quake. He just wants you to come home. Leaving us to wonder, has Dum Dum been duped? Or is Dum Dum gone over to the dark side? We don't know yet. We see that, the Inhumans are handling the monsters pretty well, although Moon Girl does not want to fight the monkey. Though Karnak kicks the monkey. But then they bring out their big gun. Who's the big gun on the Howling Commandos? The Man Thing. Oh. The Man Thing. Yes, and it's a great thing here because they're like Quake is like saying what the plan is, and Inferno says, you just told him our plan. Says it's okay. I don't think it speaks English. You think? Inferno decides to take on the Man Thing when Karnak tells him to run. And Karnak says, "Get to the car," and he says, "No, you go. You save yourselves. I'm going to fight him." And he's like, trying to burn the Man Thing. And Karnak says, "I meant hit it with the car, moron." In Philadelphia, fighting the Hydra agents because they just have to get away. They say, we can't fight them all. So we don't have to fight them all. We just need to break through the line and get away. Which apparently they do. Meanwhile, Inferno is in the back seat, lying across Quake and Ms. Marvel's laps, all burnt up, all manly looking. We see that Moon Girl is driving. They have been hiding or trying to hide Devil Dinosaur in a horse carrier, which we're not quite sure how that works. But they are now leaving the United States. Please come again when you want to feel. They go to Canada, or they go to the mutant lands, and of course, as predicted, the X-Men find them, and we see what looks like Strong Guy, Beast, Archangel, and then 3 other folks who I don't know who they are. But yeah, big thumbs up. It's a great, fantastic, exciting story to read. I was a little soft because I was saying, well, did they really take out all of the Howling Commandos so usually? But I go back and they really do. They count them all. So I'm not sure hitting Man Thing with a car would work as well as they imply, but And also, I'm still hoping that there's going to be like some third level like twist with the Howlers where they're the sleeper agents inside Hydra, that they basically pulled their punches, which would make sense, because Maria Hill, she needs friends, and her and Dum Dum, they go back. And let's also not forget that the U.S. Avengers had a relationship with Dum Dum too, so. I got a feeling that we're going to see the Howling Commandos again, and they are not going to be the dupes we think they are. But yeah, big thumbs up for this book. This is my pick of the week. Really enjoyed it. Really loved it. give you some nice art in the back of the Quake costume, and like I said, I love Hyde in his military garb. It is so insane looking and awesome. It's a Hydra Hyde, they call it. Rest position. Can't wait for Secret Warriors number 3. This is definitely going to get put to the pull list. So way to go, Secret Warriors. Can't wait to see your next adventures.
All right. Well, then I guess I'll go to my pick of the week. Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider number 2.
How'd that go?
Well, if you remember where last issue left off, Ben was being held at gunpoint by the casino owner, Cassandra Mercury, who Ben had as the Jackal had promised to cure her daughter of her disease, but sent a clone, and then when that all fell through, just angered the mother. So it opens up with Ben telling her, "I hope this doesn't disappoint you, but this isn't the first time I've had a gun pointed on me." She's like, "I'm sure it's not, but you know what it is?" He's like, "What?" She's like, "The last time," and shoots at him, but of course he has spider power, so he dodges it. Disarms her, and he takes her gun, and of course the bodyguard we saw last issue has some kind of superpowers and it's bulletproof, but Ben says to him, I know better than to shoot you. You have the whole bullets bounce off me thing. He says, but if you want her ventilated, by all means keep moving. So the bodyguard stops. And that's when Ben talks to Cassandra. He says, first thing you said, Abigail was dead. Crook's disease may be fatal, but it isn't fatal that fast. She shouldn't have passed yet. Why did you lie? And Cassandra says, she might as well be dead. She's in a coma. The doctors say she'll never wake up. And Ben says, take me to her. And she says, why? He says, because I said, please. She said, no, you didn't. He says, okay. He says, fine, please. She says, give me back my gun. He says, sure, no problem. He takes the clip out, bends the gun in half, and says, here you go. And then meanwhile, back in San Francisco, Kane is interrogating the, I forget her name, the female scientist that Ben was, Rita, the female scientist Ben was working with as the Jackal. And she won't tell him where Ben went, so he says, I'm going to have to force you. He holds up a bucket with something steaming in it and a towel. And I guess he's going to waterboard her. She goes, you're going to torture me? He goes, of course not. It's called enhanced interrogation now. He says, but they usually use cold water. I thought I would try boiling. It will only hurt. It not only will hurt, it will severely burn your face. Unfortunately, I'm the last person to feel sympathy about that. So he puts the rag over her head, and he says, get ready, because this is really going to hurt. She says, wait, okay, I saw him. She says, after Spider-Man destroyed his equipment, he came to me in a bar. I gave him money. He says, why? She says, because he asked me for it. You're wrong about him. He saved my life. There were 2 men who wanted to kill me, and he stopped them. And he's like, at the bar? She says, yes. He says, they just happened to show up a few minutes after he did. Rita, he probably arranged that. He set it up. She says, he would never do that. And he says, yes, he would. What else did he say? And she says, he said he thought he was going to hit Broadway, but not the one in New York. Kane's like, he's on the run. He's like, just 2 more questions. What floor is your office on, and knew you, and what was your password? And she said her password was Aristotle. He says, Aristotle? She says, he was the first biologist. He classified all living things. He says, I know who Aristotle is. And she says, you don't know Ben? And he says, he told you his name. He's a bad man, regardless of the lives you saved together. And she says, you were going to dump boiling water on my face. You don't get to accuse anyone else of being a bad man. He says, that would seem to be a valid observation until he dumps out the bucket. And he says, you never heard of dry ice and you call yourself a scientist? He says, I'll be back. He says, well, I'll be back to free you after I visit your office. Hope you didn't lie to me or it won't go well. Just like Ben was telling people, it won't go well for you.
Yes. Dry ice actually would burn you, though.
Yeah, but would it be as bad as scalding hot water, thow?
Well, the actual dry ice touches you. Yes, it's actually worse.
Well, that's what I was thinking too. I'm like, yeah, I know it burns because I was just talking to someone not too long ago who got burned by dry ice. Like they got on the package. I was like.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if you're just pouring the water is coming out as just super, super cold. But even super, super cold water is actually pretty dangerous, too. You can, give someone frostbite.
So back to the casino.
Well, let's not overanalyze it.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, back at the casino, Cassandra takes Ben to see her daughter. And And Ben's just looking at this little girl who's like her skin's basically getting ready to, she has all these like rashes on her. And it looks like, I guess, the disease, eventually your skin dissolves off and stuff. And he says, I'd love to take all the people who believe in God and ask them why an almighty being would do this to a child. I know they'll give you all the usual answers. There's a plan. There's a reason for everything. It's God's will. Except I know there's not. I've died a couple dozen times and there was only ever blackness and nothingness. I somehow doubt, though, that sharing my insight in this situation would help. And Cassandra's like, oh, enjoying your handiwork. She says, you promised to give me my little girl back. Instead, you substituted some creature, some copy of her. She said the cop brought her real daughter back from San Francisco. And then when they brought her back, the doctor told me the same thing. She would never wake up again. And I guess Ben's holding the girl's hand. Cassandra puts the gun to the back of his head and says, my little girl's death will be a blessing, and so will yours. That's when she hears, Mommy, can I have some water? And she sends the bodyguard for water, and she's talking to her daughter, and that's what tells the bodyguard Slate to take Peter outside, because he told her his name was Peter. And once they get out in the hall, the bodyguard slams Ben up against the wall and says, what did you do? And Ben's like, fine, you want to go? Let's go. He's thinking to himself, his skin is bulletproof, but I'm betting his ears aren't. A nice crack on either side of his skull. He smacks the side of his head as hard as he can with both hands. Says, should do nothing apparent. Yeah, but it didn't work. That's when the guy picks him up and punches him in the gut, I guess, hard. He goes, he hits twice as hard as SpiderMan. He's fast, too. That's when the guy pulls out a gun and puts it to Ben's head. Again, with the guns to his head. But Ben pulls out a gun and sticks it in the guy's mouth and says, he says, unless your brains are bulletproof, which I'm betting they're not, how about we put down our guns and stop fighting? Let's be smiling when Cassandra comes out so as not to ruin her day. So when she comes out, they're all just standing there. That's when she tells Ben to come with her, and she says, how did you do it? And he says, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. And she says, try me. He says, telepathy. I can reach into the minds of children. I touched her brain and woke her up. And the bodyguard's saying, that's ridiculous. She's saying, quiet. And he says, Ben's thinking, is she buying it? Tell me she's buying it. I hate to say it, but my lie makes way more sense than the truth. The truth being that I didn't do a thing. She just happened to wake up when I held her hand. It was a complete coincidence, but I'll be damned if I'll tell her that. Cassandra's like, can you cure? And he's thinking, no, Crook's disease is incurable. But he says, absolutely. She says, how? He's thinking, no clue. But he says, research and some new equipment. And she says, equipment. He says, money for starters. Guys got to eat. Plus a few other things. She says, like what? And back down in the casino, remember the old lady June who he was trying to make his new Aunt May?
Yes, well, Aunt June.
I guess she's out of money and security's trying to throw her out, so she bites one of the security guards on the hand, and they're about to carry her out, and the bodyguard comes down, and Slate comes down and says, boys, I'll handle it from here. And he says to the lady, you're June, right? And she's not answering him. He says, look at me, ma'am. I said, look at me, or I'll rip your head off, and no one around here will care. And she's like, yeah, I'm June. He says, here. He gives her a cup full of coins, and he says, if you run out, go to the cashier and identify yourself. You'll get more. And then he hands her a card, and she says, what's this? He says, your room key, room 1100. You're living here now. Any expenses, charge it to the room. And she says, why? He says, your nephew. And she's like, fine, whatever.
I kind of think Ben could have found a better aunt. I don't know.
Yeah.
She seems kind of sociopathic here. I don't know, like very detached from the world.
So the issue ends with Kane in his Scarlet Spider suit breaking into New U. He goes to Rita's office and he's looking. He's looking over the where all the money went, and he remembered Ben told Rita something about Broadway, but not New York. He's like, Vegas, lots of money there, plenty of shows too, only one New U patient, and of course it's Cassandra's daughter. Crook's disease. He sees that she has Crook's disease. Starts with rashes, then the skin starts sloshing off. Fevers, muscular atrophy, coma, and finally death. Patients rarely make it past the age of 10. He sees the mother's rich. He's thinking maybe Ben is planning to try and bilk her. Could it? And then he hears click, and he's like, uh-oh. And the issue ends with him getting shot out shot out by 2 people. They don't look like cops though, so he's like, yeah, this day's going real well.
Fascinating.
But yeah, I'm interested to see where the whole Ben and Kane thing goes. And Ben is just, I don't know if they want like a grittier, edgier Spider-Man, because he's lying about being able to cure this little girl, but he cares about the old woman, and I don't know. It's just.
Well, does he care about the old woman, or is he just like trying to? Honestly, Ben seems a little bit crazy. Ben Reilly seems a little bit crazy in this. Like he's kind of. Yeah, I mean, he definitely seems like this whole, I need an Aunt May, I'm the Peter, so I need an Aunt May, and well, your Aunt June, that's close enough, and your husband's dead to me, so there we go. He definitely seems several levels off level.
Yeah, all the multiple deaths, but I mean, I hope they bring back him closer. I mean, no, they don't have to bring him all the way, but maybe closer to like the classic Ben Reilly, which I guess they're taking a step next issue. It looks like he's getting his original Scarlet Spider suit back next issue.
Well, that'll be interesting. Yeah, and certainly the Kane and Ben plotline will be very interesting to see. Maybe they find a cure for each other as they find a cure for the little girl. Because they're not going to kill a little girl in this book. Come on, people. We've introduced her. She will not die.
It's Peter David. That's sadistic.
Okay. Yes. Moving right along, let's go to our big villain book of the week. Steve Rogers, Captain America. Bum, bum, bum. The most evil man in the world. And yeah, this is the issue where Cap goes full up supervillain. Mm-hmm. Like, not even blinking, man. And it was good, man. It was solid. We meet the woman who is interviewing Cap. She is the reporter who, Sally Floyd. She had interviewed Cap twice during Civil War, once before the war, once during the war, once after he surrenders, and basically saying you're out of touch with what people want. This, I thought, was a very interesting point in this, because it really does show what I think is most important in this entire story, that old Cap is the real Cap. That Cap was still there. That was still Cap back then. The Cap of Civil War was Cap. So definitely this Cap ain't that Cap. And we see Dr. Faustus saying, yes, it's a freewheeling interview. Ask any questions you want, but don't mention Las Vegas. Because, of course, last issue or in Secret Empire number 1 or 2 was that. We blew 2. No, 1. Is
end of
we
1, yeah.
Completely decimate. End of 1, we decimate Las Vegas. Got no sympathy here for Steve Rogers. And again, like I said, we see these like freaking tendrils on the helicarriers. Like, what are they doing? Because they don't seem to be doing anything. We see that basically Las Vegas is now a crater. And we see basically, Cap telling the entire story from his point of view, because she's saying, hey, it looks like the crisis is over. Shouldn't you put everyone back in charge? And it says, well, there's always a crisis, which is your classic answer, And she calls him out that, the economic advantages that he has are all manufactured and whatnot. We do cut to Dr. Hyde at the New Atlan Inhuman Holding Center, where he is doing experiments on the Inhumans. We see that Naga is back in prison here. She meets Brian, who's got a thing over his mouth. Boy, you want to know what happens when that thing comes off his mouth. We see Iso. She's the boss of the yard. We cut back to Cap in his interview. And then, they make the point about, New Tishan, why we don't acknowledge it. That's stolen property from the American world. But then we see basically Magneto and Cap made a deal. And I love this because basically, Magneto's saying, you think that flag makes you look like a hero to me? And that flag has been killing my people for as basically giving you what I always said was the Red Wolf argument. It's like, how did you know he wasn't a fascist? Did you see his outfit? You know, but basically makes the deal that he's, you know, the mutants will have their land. We see that whoever this person leading the mutants is a Hydra plant. It's some sort of robot with eyes. I don't know who that is.
He's some I forget the name. He's some kind of mutant. I think he even masqueraded as Magneto for a while. Yeah, I think there was actually two of them. I might have to look. I know the guy, and I can't remember his name for the life of me.
Yes, but he gives Magneto the Red Skull's head as a parting gift, or maybe that's just the mask. I don't know. It's hard to say. Maybe it's the mask, maybe it's the head. But he gives it to Magneto. It's something that he would have liked to have kept as a trophy for himself, which again really shows how far on the supervillain spectrum Cap has fallen. He has gone five full Magnetos, to quote Mosaic. You know, and again, it goes to the idea about why Magneto might be appearing on the side with Cap, because, hey, what do you want? He got his reservation for mutants. Now, it becomes this question, is like, will Captain America let that go? Will it let this land stay? Will he honor his own treaty? And of course, you know, Magneto knows he... Yes.
Oh, sorry. That guy that you said looked like a robot, there's actually two of them. They're brothers. They both go by the name Zorn, Xorn. And you know why Steve Rogers made a deal with... You know why Steve Rogers made a deal with them? They're pretty powerful. The one has a sun in his head, healing powers, electricity, and magnetism generation and manipulation, teleportation via time-space wormholes, gravity manipulation, telepathy, can cause his sun to turn into a black hole. And the other one kind of has most of those powers. So, yeah, I mean, you want to know why Steve Rogers made a deal with them? Because he didn't want to fight whichever one it is.
Okay, well, there we go. We see that basically, you know, the Americops are keeping the streets safe, and the warships are flying again. And, you know, of course, Sally calls them out, and, you know, that's not real. You know, it's not real economic generation, just to, you know, these, you know, plants that you have building things we don't need, and the manufactured wars aren't really helping. And then, you know, he says, everywhere across the country, people are hailing Hydra. And then, of course, Sally says, everywhere but Las Vegas. And you see her cover her mouth and realize what happened. We see the test pattern come up. Please stand by as the guards take her away. And he says, you know, you can't do this. You know, you can't, you can't arrest a journalist for asking a question. People will find out about this. I'm sure you're right, Ms. Floyd. I imagine people on Twitter will be furious. Cap wanders off. I know. Meets his old buddy Namor. And they seem to have a lot to talk about. Okay, thumbs up for Captain America, number 17. It was a really good book. Worth a pick of the week. If I hadn't been so in love with Secret Warriors, that probably might have been my pick of the week.
Yeah, me too. But it was kind of depressing.
Yeah, well, it is depressing, but it's intelligent, and I like that.
Yes.
So, big thumbs up. Okay, what's your next book, Phil?
We only have one left, our book in common, Black Panther 14. Unless you want to do it, because I think I had more books than you. Do you want to do Black Panther?
Do you have another book after Black Panther, or is that your last book?
No, that's it. All I have is Black Panther, yeah.
Okay, well, that's my last book, too. So you do it, man. We're alternated. That's good.
All right, yeah. So like we were talking about last week, Dr. Faustus is here in Black Panther. He's talking about how he's voyaged the ocean of Reed Richards' mind, walked the fields of rage with James Barnes, summited the heights of American hypocrisy, but all of this is but a barren acre when measured against Wakanda. he needs Wakandan mines. But he's gonna start with one, of course, T'Challa. And then we see T'Challa talking to this one of his former bodyguards. He's trying to talk her into coming back. She's saying, "What?"
I was wondering who this lady was.
Yeah, she was. I think wasn't she one of his? What do you call them? The Dora.
Dora Majay or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know who she was because I had never seen her before.
But yeah, so I think she's saying, we're talking. That's a start. But then he goes down and talks to the spirits of all the former Black Panthers, Charlie including his father.
Well, all the Black Panthers, which I thought was really cool, and I love the one who's upset that his concubines couldn't come with him.
Who's that?
First of all, I love that he's got like a total Batman face on, and he is just such a golden age looking hero. Like, yes, I am the great. I am Batman. Mamadou Fall. I love that. I want more stories with Mamadou Fall in it, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, but they're talking about the problem about the last couple issues, a portal opened and these half snake men came through, and the Wakandan gods aren't responding to anyone, and when the holy men when the shamans tried to call upon them, they were smote by their own prayers.
That's gonna hurt.
Yeah. And then the one female Black Panther, I guess, tells him that there's one who might know, who is not among us, and the furious sorcerer who evaded the death of all things. So what? He survived the whole secret,
Yeah,
the
that's their implication. He stepped out for a bit.
But I wonder where he went, because I didn't think there was anywhere to go, except for like Doom's little battle war.
The beyond. There's always a beyond. That's the thing to remember. It's like the entire time that things ended, there was still stuff going on. Remember in the Silver Surfer storyline, there was the entire thing with the Shaper of Worlds and Silver Surfer and the girl in the polka dot dress, and their desire to rebuild the universe using the stuff of the Shaper of Worlds. It was all a very interesting. There was still stuff out there. Not for nothing. I mean, just to be blatantly weird and obvious about it. Our universe continued to exist after the Marvel universe ended. Every alternate universe still existed. There were still places to hide. The death of all things were not quite all things. Just all the things in that Marvel, and not all the things in all the other Marvels.
Oh yeah.
So he hit somewhere.
Yeah, so they tell him where to find this sorcerer. I guess there's a portal under Lake Nyanza. And after he gets through like the bodyguards made of rock and all that, he finds this temple, and the sorcerer tells him he knew he was coming. And T'Challa.
I love that the sorcerer is
a what?
A ginger. He's got the red hair.
Oh, yeah.
It's cute.
And he tells him about how the sorcerer saved his own hide, and he says, "No, I do not fear death. I fear the death of the library within me." He's like, "I fled the realm of man to preserve its deepest secrets, but the realm of man survives, at least for the moment." But yeah,
he is. Yeah. He says he is like worshiper of the old gods, and I wonder if he's talking about Chiton and Set.
Maybe.
Does it seem like he's talking about Chiton and Set there?
Maybe. He doesn't call them out by name, but I mean, he does mention like the Wakandan gods and how they've like taken flight and abandoned,
But that it strikes me that we did get Chiton mentioned, of course, over in Mosaic.
Yeah. And
in the Ultimates we do have that first firmament and that idea of the first elder beings, and makes me wonder what happens next. Because maybe the realm of Chiton was outside of the death of all things. Just thought.
But yeah, the sorcerer tells him what he's the death of all things with the death of all things physical. What concerns me now is the spirit forged in the past. Commandala exists as an extension of that spirit. While the disciples can endure the death of all things, we will not survive the death of this one thing. And they go off to the Jabari lands. And then at the end, I guess the former bodyguard he was talking to gets captured by Dr. Faustus and his little group. Yeah, I think
Sharker twins, Stain, and Dr. Faustus. Second generation Hydra guys. And of course, we have the Mudwitch there too, which is great. The truth is agony.
I'm guessing they're going to use her against T'Challa, but I mean, it was a really good issue. It was a thumbs up for me.
Yeah, it was a very good issue. I mean, honestly, this was right up there with my pick of the weeks. I love the cosmology aspects of it. You just realize the new name of the letters page is Down with the King. Oh boy, painting your hand a little straightforward there, man. I got to read all this. So much like tiny print stuff on this, all the maps of Wakanda and all the history. It's like, oh, Ta-Nehisi, I love that you do it, man, but I got books to read, man. Yes. But just great, a great week for books this week, I think.
Oh yeah. And next week, I mean, we won't be here. We'll be at Capes of Lunatics, but I was trying to let me pull up my list. There was a couple good things. Oh, Cable #1 comes out next week. Sam Wilson comes out next week. Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Hulk, Moon Knight. Occupy comes out next week. Old Man Logan and Secret Empire #3. At least that's the books I'm getting.
And don't forget Gwenpool.
But yeah, Secret Empire #3 next week.
Yes.
Did you see? I think it was the August previews. It's just Captain America 25. It didn't have like a Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson name on it. It's just going to be Captain America 25, I think. So I wonder if they're folding both books into one.
Well, because one of them's not Captain America anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know who that is. That villainous trait, Captain Hydra.
Will either one of them be Captain America?
Yeah. You know what's actually would be interesting here is to see Sam, when Sam finds out what happened to Cap, confronting him about what happened to him. And say, I know what you're going through, Cap. I know what it means to have your past rewritten. But let me tell you, when they rewrite your past, don't actually do it. Your reality still exists.
That's right. Because the Red Skull, did mess with Sam Wilson's past with the Cosmic Cube before. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe that's how Cap gets saved. Is Sam convinces him about the reality of it, and then maybe Cap goes back to being old and Cap.
Yeah, but you'd think Sam would understand, but he just seems angry unless it's just like a thing where he's like, I thought I believed in you. I thought you were better than me.
Well, right now it's that he doesn't know yet.
Yeah,
because right now the only people who know are people when drunken Tony Stark finally looked at the dang data. And realized what was going on.
Well, maybe in issue 3, because I would assume that team of Ant-Man and all them know, so maybe they'll tell Sam Wilson.
Maybe, yeah. So we'll see if it goes that deep. But I remember, because they had made mention of that at several points in the early Sam Wilson run, about how he had to deal with coming to terms with having your past rewritten in that way, So I don't know if that's who was doing the writing then, but it will be interesting. So, but we know more about that on Super Connectivity.
That's right. And as we said, this is the last roundup. So if you want to hear us talk about all those good books next week and for weeks to come, follow us to our new home of Capes and Lunatics. I'll be there. Charlie will be there. The Great Little Hellfire will be there. Tyler Patrick will be there. So we'll be talking Marvel. We'll be talking DC, TV, movies, everything. And keep sending in your feedback, all of you, especially you, Stockton. Great job. You can either email us, capesandlunatics@gmail.com. Our voicemail is 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/capesandlunatics. Twitter is @capeslunatics. Instagram is Capes and Lunatics. And we even have a Pinterest board, Capes and Lunatics Podcast. And Charlie, if people want to talk comics or anything else with you, where can I get a hold of you?
Well, you can always write to me in an old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters. I live tweet something. Not Incredible Hulk anymore, because that is no longer on 7 o'clock on Saturdays on MeTV, being replaced by Battlestar Galactica.
What?
I mean, sure it has Spaceman and the guy from Bonanza, but still. No Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. That's all I'm saying. No. But I'll still be watching stuff, and I'll tweet when I feel like it. But, it's like, it's not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's not Incredible Hulk. What am I tweeting? I guess I'll have to tweet that dang Inhuman show. That's Charlie Esther. That's CHARLIESSCR. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. That was my little son Tristan, being my little co-host back there. Okay.
And as for me, if you have any Capes or Lunatics questions, or if you're a comics creator or work in the TV or movies and want to get interviewed, email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. And on Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. All right. Final roundup. Charlie, any last words for our final Marvel roundup?
It's been real, guys, except it's actually been fictional. Remember that there is a difference between reality and fiction. And when Cap turns evil, it's just a heel turn. They can turn him back at a moment's notice or leave him evil, and it doesn't change a thing because it's all make-believe. Enjoy.
Yes, and keep listening to that Super Connectivity. It'll still be here on Enough Said. It'll be on Capes and Lunatics. We'll still be talking comics on Capes and Lunatics. So make sure you subscribe and download both Capes and Lunatics and Enough Said. So it'll be still original content on both. So you want to be in the know, follow those 2 podcasts, Capes and Lunatics and Enough Said. And like Charlie said, thank you everyone for joining us week after week. Thank you to the Kenneth Smysons and the Stockton Piners. And all of you out there who didn't write in, you should write in or hit us up on the voicemail, Capes and Lunatics. It's going to be a fun ride. But finally, thank you everyone. Thank you, Rob Southgate. And remember, it's never over. We're just like energy. We cannot be created or destroyed. We just change form. Good night.